The top returning power hitter in New Jersey, Drew Wyers, set Central Jersey on fire in 2021. 8 home runs, 40 RBI, a 471 batting average, a 636 on base percentage, 985 slugging, and a 1621 OPS. No wonder he'll be going to Stetson University, and we can't wait to see what he does for an encore this year. We'll talk with one of the hardest working players we've ever met, Drew Wyers, on this edition of JBS Generation Next. It's Generation Next, our look at some of the top high school players in New Jersey for year 2022. We are here today with Drew Wyers, outstanding third baseman, returning all-state infielder at Northern Burlington High School. Set all the home run records, ridiculous power, still has another year left to go. And welcome, Drew, and thanks for coming today.
Yeah, no problem, Mr. Olshan. I appreciate you having me. I've heard a lot about the podcast, and yes, as you said, this past high school season was very awesome, very fortunate. Made it to a sectional final. Unfortunately, we lost. We ended our season short, but there's always another season coming up, and it's a big one, especially being in my senior year. So can't wait. This off season is going to be huge, and can't wait to get back on the field with my boys.
Yeah, feel like Northern Burlington. I mean, obviously some big losses, but you feel like a lot coming back too, and ready to give it one last shot at Central Jersey and maybe hopefully beyond.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, we did lose some seniors, a few seniors that were huge contributors. But I mean, the team we have in the infield, outfield, and the bats are coming back a little bit. So I definitely believe that we're going to be able to make a run again, especially with the type of chemistry we had, especially from last year. The type of chemistry we had last year is very strong and a very bonding team, I have to say. So especially moving into next year, I think that's going to carry over, and it's going to be huge, especially being a senior heavy team. A lot of leadership will be in hand, especially for the young guys. And we'll just pretty much end it with a bang, just go out there, enjoy it, have fun, just go out there and compete and represent our school. When you go through a great postseason like that and get all the way to the sectional final and Colts Neck and a tough, walk-off, obviously heartbreaking game, is that kind of also feed the fire for next year too? Because you had a great run, knocked off some, your rivals, Burlington Township, along the way. Great game up in Mercer County, knocking off Hamilton. And is that sort of thing like you're tested now and you're hopefully going to motivate you that much more? 100%. I mean, baseball is a game where there's always another day, they say, so I definitely believe that there's definitely a fire underneath our butts moving into the season, especially with the new head coach, Gene Darling. Coach Rick Doppler did an amazing job with that program beforehand, and I cannot thank him enough for the first 3 years. But now Coach Darling's going to take over the reins, kind of lead this team a little bit more, and I think with him being a new guy, he's going to want to set the tone early for his career, along with making an impact on all of our players' careers as well. So I definitely believe there's a fire underneath of us, especially from last season. I mean, with an unfortunate loss, but you know what? It's baseball. There's always another day until you hang your cleats up. So, but I mean, there's definitely a lot more to improve on. There's definitely a lot of strengths within our team, and we're just ready to go and compete for a sectional title this year. Always make it one game ahead from where you ended last year. So definitely fired up. Yep. And no better sign of getting old when guys that I coached against at some point along the way are taking over high school programs. So thanks a lot, Drew. Thanks for ruining my day. I appreciate it. Let's talk recruiting. Let's talk your college choice, Stetson. For not everybody knows, but Stetson, up in this part of the country, but great school, DeLand, Florida. Not just a great baseball program traditionally, but a really strong academic school. So tell us about the recruiting process, because I know it started really early for you, and some of the kind of adventures along the way. And
What was it about Stetson that really stood out among a lot of other powerhouse schools?
All right, yeah, definitely. So that's a great question. The summer of my freshman season, moving into my sophomore year, Stetson saw me play, and they showed a lot of interest. We were actually down in Florida playing for a major tournament, Perfect Game World Series, and they definitely saw my ability, my potential, my athleticism, and they told my coach that. And after the tournament, my coach came up to me. He actually ran into the Stetson coaches. They're like, "Wow, we really like this Wyers kid." To be honest with you, I've never really heard of Stetson prior. I knew about them without a doubt, especially after the 2018 season they had, making it to the Super Regional and one win away from the College World Series.
Yep.
So that definitely, I knew they were legit. I mean, definitely knew they were going to compete, and it's a school in Florida. You could say what you want, but baseball year round is one of my favorite things to do. And honestly, that was one of my goals, was to play baseball year round, especially being up in the Northeast. You don't really get warm weather year round. So it's always indoors, indoors, indoors in the winter time and the later fall. So, but Stetson came around. They gave me an offer, won a few, and we went down to visit a few weeks later. I was like, okay, wow, this school is pretty legit. And after communicating with my parents, after communicating with my coaching staff for US Elite, and some mentors, different hitting coaches and everything, they said to go where you can play and have the potential to start as a freshman once you hit campus. So that's something that really went to the front of my mind was, hey, Stetson, legit school, obviously in baseball. The Jacob DeGrom came out of there, so there's a big name.
Yeah, we heard of him. Yeah,
Yeah, we heard of him a little bit too. So um, go to a school where you could have the chance to compete for a spot right when you get there. The coaches will love you. Go to a school where you feel comfortable, where they have your major, more importantly, because if baseball ended the day you were down at campus, you would still be in love with the school. And that's something that definitely put into perspective with Stetson. And obviously, it's in Florida. It's in a great area, man. It's 30 minutes away from the beach. So, I mean, so what can get better than that? And then Stetson comes around. I waited till the end of the fall, though. I'm not gonna lie, just to see what, just to make sure it was the right fit for me personally and for my family. And it's not just because of waiting for other schools or anything to see what they will bite. It was more or less waiting to see what fits for my family and myself. And deep down, I knew right when I made the decision to commit to Stetson, I had made the right decision from that day, and will never regret my decision moving forward. So that's kind of how Stetson came along. They saw me play down in Florida. I tore it up a little bit. Obviously, if they showed some interest, and honestly, I cannot wait to be a Hatter next year. Step foot on campus. Coach Trimper, Coach Sterno, Coach Gerke, everyone down there. So they're a great coaching staff. They have a great reputation. They're doing a lot of amazing things down there. And to be honest, I cannot be more happy, especially after the season I had for high school in the summer. Moving forward, I cannot wait. So that's kind of how my recruiting process went. And now I'm ended up heading to Stetson in DeLand, Florida.
Yeah, it's a great school that, again, it's I don't want to say hidden gem because it's not, down in the southern part, in the South everybody knows, but up here it kind of is, right? It's, the
Right.
big Florida schools get all the attention, but you schools like Stetson are national powerhouses every year.
Yeah.
And near the beach, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. Daytona Beach too. So
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Not a bad, a lot of things working in its favor for sure. So one of the things you had mentioned was, the ability to play year round, and as I've gotten to know you, I would say that's, you are, everybody says they would play like 365 days a year if they could, but I think you're one of the people who actually means it.
And how do you go? Where does that work ethic and that drive and that like every day I've got to get a little better attitude come from? Because you've seen guys who commit early, and that's like the highlight, and then by the time senior year comes around, it's like, why were they interested in that guy? Whereas every day it seems like just kind of working on that progression. Where does that come from?
So that's also a great question. So that drive really comes from an overall goal of just a work ethic that has been ingrained in my family. Everything we do is work as hard as you can, work your tail off for everything you do, and whatever happens, happens. Control what you can control is something I've learned a little while ago, and it's definitely stuck in the forefront of my brain. So just after the high school season, I think it definitely motivates me a lot more with the high school season I had, especially kind of going or trying to back it up as much as I did last year. Not really feeling pressure, just going out there and playing the game I love. And that's really what has driven me, is playing the game I love, respecting the game, and I think I don't want to talk for many kids, but many kids kind of go through the motions sometimes. And honestly, if you're on the baseball field, you never know when the last time you're going to lace up your cleats. And that's something that me and my parents really talk about, is just really being driven to play the game, respect the game, do it for the fans. They say, like, that's why major leaguers kind of play, is for themselves, and to do it for the people around you who have supported you. So I think definitely trying to be able to support and make people's lives a little bit and influence them a little bit more, and it's not really a like to try and make a name for myself. It's more to influence others to be able to be driven for a goal that they want ever since they were growing up. And I think part of me thinks that little me would definitely want to make it to the big leagues, and that's really the goal, or to be drafted and to play college baseball. And I see all these kids, and I was down at Jupiter, and not one player was a mediocre player, man. And you're playing with the best of the best, and that really motivates me, is to be part of the best group. And I think with that hard work and that drive, it's just always stuck with me growing up. Everything I do, I mean, my brother lives through me. He doesn't get much. He had a kidney transplant growing up, and he's been shut down of a lot of things. So he's definitely one person that kind of keeps me motivated. Do it for him, do it for people who can't really lace up their cleats one more time. And I truly think that that's really stuck with me. My parents talk about it all the time, and definitely just believing in the love for the game and respecting the game, especially for people that can't do it. So that's definitely what's motivated me and has given me that drive.
Definitely. Now you mentioned Jupiter, right? That was again, the U18 travel. I mean, World Series, right?
Yes.
Not just getting to compete there and hitting a wood bat tank bomb about 425, but you also had a really neat experience while you were down there that was sort of like, I wouldn't say away from the field, but away from the tournament.
Right.
It wasn't one of the games. Why don't you tell us about what you got the chance to do through US Elite and that hat you got there at
Rawlings representing, man. All right. So with US Elite being Rawlings Platinum members, we got to do a photo shoot. And with that photo shoot, we could either be on the billboards in Dick's Sporting Goods for Rawlings promotions, or in the catalogs and everything. So I mean, it was by far one of the coolest experiences, other than playing baseball down at Jupiter, which was a lifelong dream of mine.
Yeah.
Obviously, being able to compete in front of plenty of scouts and being able to compete with the best in the country, and surrounding myself with the best of the country to give me that drive to be a part of that group, and which I consider myself one of those guys. I don't know if that sounds cocky, but I think it's more humbling to myself than saying it. But the Rawlings photo shoot was something different, and for it to be that big of a brand as Rawlings is in baseball, it's something that I could have never thought of, or something that never really would have crossed my mind that I would have been chosen to be in a
Never
photo
thought
shoot
you,
with Rawlings.
yeah, you never thought you'd be a national photo shoot star at anything, did you?
Yeah, yeah. If baseball doesn't work out, might need to go into modeling, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we guys have to check with your boys at Northern and see what they have to say, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. They'd be making fun of me all season, but you know what? They weren't down there getting their picture taken. So no, I'm just kidding. But
Yeah.
no, it was definitely probably one of the coolest experiences I've got.
Yeah. Probably because it's so different too, right? It's just something
Yeah,
you never thought of doing. It was pretty cool, and you got to do it with. It wasn't just you; it was some of your other teammates, right?
yeah, yeah. So and then a few other teams that were Rawlings Platinum Award, Rawlings
Yep.
Platinum members, obviously, but four other of my teammates were on there, and it was cool to experience it with them, especially
Yeah.
kind of feeling like we're at that next level already. Because obviously, in the stores and in the catalogs, um, you see the big league guys and Bryce
Right.
Harper and Chris Bryant, everybody who's like kind of sponsored by Rawlings a little bit, and it just kind of gave me that feeling and that little thought bubble of like, wow, this is really what they do, and it was
Hmm.
pretty damn sick. And
Let's, now
but
we
yeah,
want to make sure that I said now we want to make sure that's not the last one that you do, right?
yeah, no, definitely not. That's good. That's the goal. Oh, more photo shoots, the better, man.
That's right. That's right. Um, that was also the last kind of real tournament you played for US Elite, right? Because yeah, when that came, then it was quiet period for all the D1 coaches. There's not really a whole lot of reason to put out lots of money to go play these tournaments if nobody's showing up there for them.
Right.
Tell us about your experiences with US Elite and what that's kind of meant to you through the years and help you get to where you are right now.
Right. No, definitely. And it was definitely an emotional weekend. Just to start off there, it was very emotional because it was the last time being with the kids I've played with for 5 years and
Yeah,
building relationships, playing all summer, from summer to fall ball. Like that's like 4 months of just being together with your core group.
hmm,
And that was super emotional for me and some of my teammates. Honestly, the last game, I'm a big baby, so I started crying on the field just for the emotional part of it.
yeah.
And
Everybody
I
who's been through a last game knows how that is.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I did hug my dad, start crying a little bit because it was the last time he'd see me play travel baseball too. But anyway, so US Elite was I got seen from the national director about 5 years ago.
Hmm.
Mark Helsel, he was the national founder of US Elite and everything, and he saw me pitch. Obviously, I don't pitch now, and I don't consider myself a pitcher, but if it has to happen, I do have some experience. So we were sitting at a diner in Vineland, New Jersey, and walks in the Mark walks in the diner and walks by us, and he recognizes me because I pitched against him. And I kind of shut the US Elite down a little bit, and so he walks by. He's like, "Hey, do you mind if I sit and talk to you guys?" And he goes, "Hey, I really like your projectability. I think you could be a huge contributor to US Elite." My dad's sitting there. We're like, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah.
Right? It just walks in. We play against him and everything. And then, excuse me one second. Right. So he walks in and he's saying like, "Hey, we really like you and everything." And sorry. And so he gives my dad his business card, right? And with that, my dad takes it. We're like, "Hey, thank you for the kind words and everything." 3 weeks later, the team I was playing on breaks up, right? So it was kind of like a God wink and everything. So we call Mark Helsel. We're like, "Hey, the team just broke up. Are we able to come have a tryout for US League? We're very interested." So Mark's like, yes, definitely, without a doubt. He drives down to my area. We try it at this facility. He really likes me, and he's like, we'll put you right on the national team. Wow. I didn't realize I was that good at that young, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And at that time, it's about November. So it's heading into the off season. We go to a banquet, the end of the year banquet and everything. These kids are built, they're in shape because they're in US Elite, which starts to develop players at that young and kind of direct their path into playing college baseball. And I'm like, wow, these are some of the best kids around in the area. And it was very fortunate that I got put on that team. So a few months after, get on the team, play with them, starting shortstop, starting second baseman with some legit kids. And I'm batting later on in the lineup, but still better than being on the bench. And so, and so he kind of directs my way. He's coaching the team, tells me there's these standards we have called uncommon standards. It's not really what any travel ball team really has. So I don't really know the uncommon standards, and with that, I have to learn very quickly and adapt very quickly. And so a few years go on, I'll move forward because I don't want to bore anybody with my early on ages. So a few years later, I try out for the older US Elite team. That's when colleges started to get recruiting, right? And that's when I started to get recruited by colleges and schools. So I make the older team, get recruited by different schools, play with some of the best kids in the country on that team, kids in ACC, SEC, potential draft picks and everything. And I'm part of that team, batting second, playing second base. It was such a fun year for that team. Built a chemistry with some guys that were legit and had big futures ahead of them, like myself. So then I move over back to my age group, play with some of my boys that I grew up before moving on to that older team. And we just kick it off right away. Didn't skip a beat or anything because we had that chemistry, and and with that, that led to us winning games, winning tournaments, right? Being nationally ranked and everything. And so we've been together ever since we were 14 years old. And with that, USC has changed my life as a person, individual, as a son, a student, just because of the uncommon standards and the life lessons we learned from the game of baseball, but turning it into a team like situation.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because not everybody's experience is like that. So I'm sure you realize that at this point too. So that's great. Couple random questions before we wrap up. Interests outside of baseball, if there really are any.
See, that's hard because people say all I talk about is baseball. So, I mean, no, I'm just kidding. So, I do enjoy, I play basketball too for high school. I'm a big sports kid.
Yeah.
So, any way I could have a ball in my hand, just really enjoy that. But I do enjoy traveling, hanging out with family and friends. That's pretty simple, I would say. I kind of like to sing a little bit too, but that's a hidden talent.
There he is. So I guess the chance of you singing for us is pretty low right now.
Nah, not right now. Maybe another day.
Yeah, sure. What's on your playlist game day?
Oh, country.
Yeah.
I'm a big country fan, man. I grew up listening to country. Definitely some Florida Georgia Line, Jason Aldean, just guys that like fire me up. It kind of relax me a little bit more, but like get me fired up. So definitely country music.
Excellent. We could be D1 in any sport other than baseball, right? I mean, any other sport than baseball, what would it be?
That's a good one. Probably basketball. I mean, just the atmosphere inside the gym, student sections cheering loud, the competition, competing, the grittiness, just basketball. I mean, it's either basketball or football, but I have more interest in basketball than playing college football. So,
Go-to game day meal.
oof. Pasta with chicken, grilled chicken. Has to be grilled.
You don't want to slow yourself down on game day, do you?
No,
That's
not
right.
at all.
One app on your phone that you could do without, or you couldn't do without. I'm sorry.
Probably Instagram, I would say. A lot of kids probably say Snapchat, but I like looking at all the videos, baseball videos, obviously.
Yeah.
A lot of social media stuff. So definitely Instagram.
So I would have said like the ESPN app or something like that would have been my guess.
Oh yeah, that's true. Either that or the fantasy football app,
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Drew Wyers, appreciate the time. Certainly best of luck to you this off season when we get into next spring. With Northern trying to run it back and get that extra step and see where it takes you. So best of luck there. Best of luck at Stetson, and absolutely appreciate the time today.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Mr. Olshan. I appreciate it, and thank you for your time. I'm glad I could share my story